What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Second Street. I hope you're all having a very good day today. Today, we are going to be sitting down and getting into a new Kickstarter that is just launching right now by one of my favorite publishers out there, Absolute Comics Group. I'm telling you guys, if you don't know who the Absolute Comics Group, you need to go check out this publisher. You can even go into your LCS and order a lot of their books. They have them going through Diamond Distribution right now. And tonight we are going to talk because they also we're going to talk to the author of one of the books that is getting ready to hit the shelves here at the end of the month. And we are talking to this writer because they are actually getting ready to launch a Kickstarter, a Kickstarter that had just launched. I did leave a link down in the description of this video if you want to go and support their project, as well as there should be down in the description a link there as well where you can go and support their Kickstarter project. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring our guest on here. Hello, how are you doing today? This is George. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is George Michail, and I'm a comic book writer from uh, near Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And this is my first series, Resilient, to be released by a publisher. I've been working in comics for about 3.5 years now, and so I'm over the moon to bring Resilient to local comic book stores. And at the same time, we're doing a Kickstarter. So thank you so much, Trinity, for having me on.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad to have you. I'm glad you reached out to me. I don't do a whole lot of interviews or get a chance to more than anything. But when somebody like yourself, especially even like Benny Powell or even Jamie Tyndall, if any of those guys that you guys work with over there at the Absolute Comics Group asked to come onto my channel, I would absolutely do it anytime. So anytime you want to come on and talk about one of your books, feel free to hit me up. Like I said, I actually really do enjoy the books that they're doing over there at the Absolute Comics Group. Now, I do know that this project is getting ready to launch with along with I Make Boys Cry issue number 2 as well. And I gotta tell you, I thought the first issue was really great, and I think it's really great being paired here with your book Resilience, because I did get a chance to read it. And I got to tell you, I really did enjoy it because of the realistic aspects of the story and everything kind of real that was going on in this story. What gave you the idea for this story?
Um, so the story is about a woman. She's a judo teacher, and she's having a hard time with conceiving and having a baby with her husband, and then they go on a demining expedition in Cambodia, and they she has a tragic accident there and actually loses both her arms. And so she has like these pink robotic mecha arms that are indestructible. And her husband was a military man, and he had a bit of a sordid past while he was uh, in the service, and that catches up to him. So we're all leading towards this kind of blood-soaked climax with the Mexican cartel. So that's the story, the concept there, and the idea between having these kind of real world problems of the fertility problems that the couple's having, this huge injury that she has when she loses her arms, and she doesn't get those robotic arms instantly, by the way, um, was to establish like someone getting knocked down and then building themselves back up again, and the complicated relationship between a husband and wife, and kind of showing up for your partner kind of no matter what. And so these were the themes I wanted to explore, but I wanted to set it in like an action adventure kind of a setting, with it's a little bit edgier than some of the other titles through Absolute. This is a 16 plus kind of mature title. There's cursing, there's pretty gory violence.
Yeah.
There's car chases, there's katanas. Um, so yeah, it's a little edgier, and that's the kind of content that I like. So while I did want to explore these themes of uh, well, like I mentioned earlier, I also wanted to set it in this kind of action movie world.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I did get a chance to read it and I really did enjoy it. I was kind of thrust into this world. And I got to tell you, like, for me, it's material I really like, that kind of realism that you put in there. I mean, along with the beautiful art going on here as well. I mean, the art in this book is absolutely great. But the story itself was something that was really kind of compelling to me because I actually have friends who have gone through that process before, the in vitro fertilization, trying to have children and things like that. And well, fast forward some years later, they do have they do have a couple of beautiful young girls, and the thing is, so like that right there with the story was kind of like, ooh, that kind of got me. Like I was like, I really do like that. And then getting in and into the kind of the background, the little bit that we got here in this first issue, seeing kind of their military background and everything, I thought was really good. I really did enjoy this first issue. And is there any plan for how long you plan on going with this series?
Sure. So this is the start of an ongoing. It's a bi-monthly series. We have 4 issues like in the can already, and uh, the series is kind of like a 5 issue is the first story arc, kind of like the origin story of the character, and then from there we branch more into the White Widow Absolute Comics universe. We're going to be crossing over with I Make Boys Cry and their series Amped. So we do have some plans
Nice.
for that, but these first 5 issues are really like kind of establishing who these characters are, and these characters are a little bit more of like the street level characters of the Absolute Comics universe, more like the Jessica Jones or the Daredevil,
Right.
that sort of level of action.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say absolutely, and I can see that too because one of the things I did like you're saying, notice like White Widow, I Make Boys Cry. They are a little more, I would say maybe a little bit more super powered with like the nanobots and some of those kinds of things. I really did like what Amped did as well with the kids who were kind of controlling the basically like the robots, the humanoid robots. I did like how they were in control of that. And then after reading your book, I really do see how this book in itself is going to kind of seamlessly fit in to the larger world of the Absolute Comics universe. And I think it's absolutely great. I think it's great. So
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
yeah, yeah. And how so who are the other creators working with you on this title?
So it's a small team. It's I write it, and then we have Vince L. Tabanis is an artist from Paris, France. He lives in Quebec, Canada now, and he's doing the line art, the inking, he's doing the coloring, does it all. This is a machine. This guy.
Nice.
He's an artist known for he has some comic book credits. He worked on the French version of The Crow in France,
Okay.
and he's done a lot of covers for Zenescope before,
Mhm.
but primarily he works in video games. And I reached out to him, and I sent him my script, and he's like, "Yeah, this is great." So it's kind of a nice kind of coming together of myself, who's newer in the industry. I've been making comics for about 3.5 years now,
Oh,
and Vince, who is a veteran, but not doesn't have a ton of comic book credits under his belt. And then the last people that are part of our team is we have Nikki Powers, lettering, and Benny Powell is our editor.
nice, nice. Yeah, and like I said, I can see. One thing that I definitely noticed, especially going through the comic books, paying attention to the different publishers and everything, you kind of get an expectation, and a lot of these publishers definitely have a standard for the type of books, the artwork, and the storytelling that goes into those. And certainly at the Absolute Comics Group, they do definitely have that. Like I said, where they are going through and doing. I don't know. It's so weird in the comic book industry now because everybody tosses around these words, and a lot of people take them with they have negative implication about things like representation and diversity. And I think the way that they do it in the Absolute Comics Group is something that happens like naturally, just completely naturally, because I see through this story how, and I'm mentioning this because I see other people come on my channel and ask questions about like White Widow and some of these other issues. As you know, they always ask like, oh, is this is this like it's like some SJW stuff? And I'm like, no, this stuff is just like good storytelling. There's nothing in here forced. You got great characters, great story, great world building. And I want to ask you, how did you was your story before when you were writing it? Were you already part of in the Absolute Comic Troop world, shared universe when you had started writing it, or is it something that just kind of happened afterward after you had the idea for it?
Um, well, no, I created the first issue on my own. I self-funded it, and in 2019, I got out on the convention circuit pretty hard. I did like 18 shows. I have another series of a monster book. That's why there's monster art behind me there, and it's called Cover of Darkness. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was out there selling my monster book, and I tabled next to Jamie Tyndall or his kind of partner in crime there, Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of times, maybe 6 times in 2019. And so I got to know those people and hang out with them outside of conventions too. Go for drinks after a show, and yeah, they're just good people. And so when I went to New York Comic Con and I met with Benny Powell there, so I had already kind of established a relationship with some of them. Also, I've worked with some of their other artists like Ali Garza, Sanju does a lot of work with me too. So he's the colorist there. So I I already kind of knew a lot of the same people. So when I handed him my book and he liked it, he's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's put this together. So from there we did issue 2 and 3, and I'm working on issue 4 right now. It's almost done actually. So we do have a good leeway on this. It's going to be a bi-monthly series. I'd like to say like the reason why I'm in the suit today is because I'm celebrating. I'm having
Yes.
a blast today. So we launched our Kickstarter about like an hour ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we got funded in we got funded in less than an hour. So that was pretty exciting for me. Um, so the way that Absolute Comics does their promotion is kind of interesting. So we do we announce the title in Previews Magazine. We have 3 retail covers that you can bring into your local comic book store, and you can get Resilient through your local comic book store. And then we also have, and the book will be in stores on June 30th. And then on the Kickstarter side of things, we have 7 covers that are exclusive to the Kickstarter. Only get there. So there's 10 covers in total, 7 that are exclusive to the Kickstarter, and our Kickstarter features artwork. Can I just go quickly here? This
Oh
is
yeah.
our second cover was by Mystic Arts. She's a fantastic talent out of Serbia. I'm actually working on another series with her called Hybrid Force, where she's the
Nice.
interior artist, and she's brought us this cover where the foot is just coming right at you here.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and that's a well drawn foot too. It is.
yes. This is by Jeffrey the Chamba Cruz. He's a Street Fighter 2 artist from Australia, and I like this one too. Lots of energy with the right hook coming right for you. So
Absolutely.
these two are exclusive to the Kickstarter, and then this is Ed Bennis of Justice League and Birds of Prey fame.
That's a
Uh,
nice cover.
just
That's a nice cover.
absolute legend. Yeah, this is our metal cover here with no logo. Um, and yeah, it's just killer. I was absolutely. And then here we have the kind of the standard. So the metal covers are hard, solid metal covers,
Right.
and then this is a kind of more of like a traditional comic, but it has like a silver foil on the logo there.
Okay.
And then this is
Hmm.
another metal cover. This is by Colin Turnbull, an artist out of Alberta, making his comic book debut. And yeah, it features our heroine in a bikini, looking
Yeah.
good.
Can't go wrong with that.
This
And
is
then this
another
is another
comic
good
book
one.
debut. This is
Yes.
Chris Brooks Morris. He's known as Brooks on Instagram, and yeah, this is the only cover to feature our husband character Colin as well. And so we have Colin and Jelena, and this is Jelena before she lost her arms. Now this is a
Okay.
retail one that you can bring into your local comic book store. It's by Andy Bellinger, who worked on Swamp Thing and Southern Cross, and it's a lenticular cover, so you can actually uh, if
Oh.
you turn it, her arms disappear and then kind of like reappear based on which way you turn the cover. So it's
Okay.
a really beautiful cover. I'm excited about that one.
Definitely. Definitely. And then I think this one right here. This is one of the retail versions as well.
I can't see. My screen is frozen. Yeah,
Oh
there it is.
no.
The Ali Garza. No, the Ali Garza cover there is yeah. an artist that's worked on like Deadpool, Teen Titans, Supergirl, and he's an absolute comics kind of veteran there. He does a lot of cover work for them, and so yeah, he's brought us that one. We've got a sketch cover as well,
All right.
and then this is the cover A by our series artist Vinzel Tabanis.
Awesome. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, very good just killer covers. The art in the book is great. It's entertaining. It's I gotta say, for me, it's one of those number ones that absolutely does it. I mean, when you get a number, you know what, one of the things I get tired of, and I'm sure you probably read comics too. You get like one of those number ones, and you read it, and you're kind of like, well, I read it. It was okay. You don't feel bad about it, but it's like I need something to really like to put that fire in my stomach to make me feel like man, I can't, I like I want to feel angry at the end of the issue that the issue is over and I can't read the next one. That's kind of how I felt reading your book.
Thank you. Well, I'll take that as a compliment. It's a lot to juggle with the number one, right? Because in comics, I feel it's different than writing for film. For film, you get a little bit of leeway. You got like 10, 15 minutes to kind of establish your world, establish your characters, you know, and people kind of accept that. They're like, okay, I'm sitting down to watch a movie. I'm okay with 10, 15 minutes of world building. Whereas with comics, you really got to hit it running right out the gate, and and so I tried to balance establishing who all these characters are, an inciting incident, and a cliffhanger, and action and comedy, all in one issue, and it was challenging, but I think I did it,
You
and
did.
I'm really happy with the results.
Yeah. I,
I'd like to say that the publisher really believes in it too, which is nice. This is the first time that they're launching a Kickstarter without the White Widow series attached to it. So it's I Make Boys Cry issue 2 and Resilient #1 together.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, I think you did a really good job, especially too because I noticed in several of the Absolute Comics group books they do just pop culture references, and I noticed you did some of those here in this book as well. Just a lot of just all those little kind of things that are really appreciate being in there. Now I know some people probably be like, oh well, it's just like ripping off this or doing that. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, isn't that what kind of everybody does? Tips the hat and pays homage to those who came before them. And again, I thought this book was really good. So what made you like? I guess I'm kind of curious. Like, was there anything that kind of prompted you to want to tell this particular story?
Yeah. So I've had some physical injuries myself. I broke my back in
Ooh.
2014. I had heart surgery when I was 15 years old, and so I wanted to explore that with my writing, is kind of getting knocked down and coming back. And yeah, it was a scary situation with the heart surgery. I felt like I had like an elephant sitting on my chest, and I went to the doctors like 3 different times, and they just misdiagnosed me, saying, "Oh, you're working out too much, or you're doing wrestling, or whatever it was that I was doing when I was 15," and they just sent me home. And then one night, like middle of the night, I just literally couldn't breathe, and I felt faint, and I banged on my parents' door, bedroom door, and then I walked up to the kitchen and I fainted, just right down to nothing. And I woke up to my parents shaking me and slapping me, and I was living in Vancouver Island at the time, and they rushed me off to the hospital, and they diagnosed me, and they flew me by helicopter to Vancouver Children's Hospital, and they did a surgery where they drained the fluid from my heart. I had like there's a sac that protects your heart, and I had too much fluid in there, just putting too much pressure, so there was no blood flow to the rest of my body, and
Wow.
it was a scary surgery.
Yeah.
And I was actually in isolation for 2 weeks because they weren't sure how I got it and if it was contagious to the other kids at the hospital there. So, and I was like super weak after I had the surgery. I like couldn't get out of bed, and they had me on steroids and as a little rage monster for a little while.
Right.
And yeah, no, it was tough. And I actually had surgery scheduled to go in and have like the rib spreader, and they're going to remove the sac around my heart. And it's like a major surgery. The surgery that I had was very small. They just did an incision underneath my ribs and drained the fluid by like a needle. So it wasn't like a major surgery, but I was scheduled to have a big one. And luckily, the day of the surgery, they did like the echocardiogram on my chest and said, okay, the infection's cleared up enough. We don't need to do this surgery. So, um, yeah.
That's
And then, of
scary.
course, with breaking my back, I was laid up pretty bad there for a while too. So I wanted to talk about someone, the recovery process that you go through. And I thought, and I wanted to put in these the fertility treatments and things like that because that was also something that my wife and I went through too.
Right.
Before we conceived our daughter, we had some trouble. So it was these were personal things that I wanted to explore and talk about, but at the same time set that in the an action adventure universe. And I think it really makes you connect to the characters, right?
It
Kind of
really
like
does.
the Peter Parker approach, right?
Hmm.
Like, you love Spider-Man, but why do you love him? It's because he's always running late for his dates with Mary Jane. It's because he's like he missed taking Aunt May to the doctor's appointment. He feels terrible about that.
Right.
So, when the chaos is happening with, Green Goblin, you dialed in. And so that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to get people to connect to the characters. So as the series progresses and things get really crazy and the car chases and the katanas come out and the robot arms,
Yeah.
you're like, all right, you're sweating with them
Yeah.
because you care about these guys.
Yeah, and really do because, like I said, in that first issue, I mean, you get that human. Like, I really felt some a lot of emotion and connection with the husband and the wife in this particular book as well, because you can tell the connection that they have. You can tell that they're down for each other, if you will. That they're really in love and those kinds of things. So it was really cool to to kind of see all that, because a lot of times you'll read a comic book and stuff and you won't get that same kind of feel. Like, you just it feels hollow, it feels dry. And here, like I said, it really felt alive. You could feel kind of, I don't know, like, I guess you were like, I was feeling it. I was really feeling that kind of emotional weight throughout this book, very much so, very much. I did like the characters and everything that kind of happens throughout this issue. So what were
Yeah, you mentioned that. Sorry, you mentioned like the paying tribute to things. Well, like so, for example, one of the characters will drop like song quotes,
mm-hmm,
and that's not to just kind of rip off on nostalgia, but because like just to make her a bit more real,
right?
because people do that in real life.
Mm-hmm.
They often will. You say a lyric from a song, and then they start singing it all of a sudden. It's like, hey, I didn't mean that, but all right,
Right.
or lots of people like quote movies all the time, right? So that
Absolutely.
was just to kind of make her feel a bit more real.
Yeah, yeah, and it was great. It was great. Like I said, everything that was done throughout here was just really good. A good book to get invested in. So, what are some of your inspirations in writing or in comics that made you want to seek out being a comic creator, writer?
Uh, so in comic books, I love Brian Michael Bendis. I really like the way he kind of deep decompresses a scene and lets it breathe. And I love his dialogue and yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Absolutely, Jeff Loeb and the way that he writes for artists. You know when you're getting a Jeff Loeb story that there's going to be some cool beats in it because he really caters to what his artist can do and what people want to see that artist do. So, um, and other forms of media, I really like Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorites. I think everybody loves him. I
Oh
like
yeah.
Kevin Williamson, the writer of Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and he did like Dawson's Creek, which I watched in high school
Mm-hmm. Right.
because I'm a nerdy guy. Friday nights with my mom,
Yes.
so I was I like his banter between his characters. I really like that, and then on more of a personal note too was like Kevin Smith and just his journey. I know most people know it, but that's a guy that was working at a convenience store and always wanted to be a filmmaker. And he said, well, what, I'm just going to do it. And I think he put like 28,000 on his credit cards and
Mm-hmm.
rented all the equipment that he needed and filmed at the convenience store at nighttime and made an independent movie and just made it happen for himself. And so I kind of looked at my journey into comics as something similar. As I always wanted to work in comics ever since I was a little kid. I had a copy of How to Train or How to Draw Comics the Marvel
Hmm.
Way by John Buscema, and I wore that book out, man. I spent a lot of days at the kitchen table drawing, and I loved comics for a long time. I loved X-Men, the animated series, and Batman, the animated series in the 90s. I watched all those like obsessively. I'd make little board games with like the X-Men trading
Hmm.
cards, and I'd make the cards, I'd make the games myself and with like dice and things like that and play with my friends. And I always wanted to be a creative person, but I was really afraid of putting myself out there and kind of taking that leap. And after my accidents that I did have, like the car accident especially, I was like, you know what? Am I just gonna live my life in fear of like failure, of rejection, and or am I actually gonna go for this and make this happen? And so I decided to go for it, and it's been a absolutely fun journey ever since I started. And this is my first series out by a publisher, which is like a huge goal of mine. And I'm really happy to finally achieve this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I want to say, and I just do want to say, from me and all the Myrtle Maniacs here, that's what I call my the channel members here, people here who come to the channel. I want to say congratulations to you and all the folks over at the Absolute Comics Group in once again just putting out some fire content, man. I'm telling you, the comic books are absolutely great. I think just judging off of this first issue, that you've got a pretty good series on your hands. I can't wait to read the rest of the series, and I am kind of happy to hear you mention Kevin Smith as well, because he's one of my favorite directors when I was growing up as a kid as well. And it kind of brings me back to something I was talking about earlier, because Kevin Smith seems to have this way with his characters and knowing how to properly write characters and situations and make them feel really natural and get you connected with the characters. And also, he's the king of the pop culture references.
Yeah. No, he's great, and he writes great women too.
Hmm.
That's one thing is like um, I put a lot of my relationship with my wife in there. Just kind of, we've been together for 20 years now. We met when we were like, in high school
Hmm.
sort of thing. And the main character is actually named after my wife. It's Jolanda.
Okay.
And yeah, all the most important people in my life are women. My mother-in-law, Valerie, my mom, my cousin Crystal, who's actually my co-writer on my monster book. Um, uh, yeah, I really love women. I love seeing like strong female heroes, and so that's why I made my lead character a woman.
Absolutely, and I enjoy it, and I guess kind of like you said too. I mean, I've got my mom, I've got my sister. There was only me and my sister growing up. My wife, she's one of the strongest women I know. She probably couldn't go out there and beat a whole bunch of people up, but you know what? If you wanted something done, you had a job to do. I could always count on her 100% for anything. As well as I've got two daughters of my own, and they're the best. They're the best. I remember when I first was when we were having our first kid, our son, or when we were having our first kid, we wanted a boy so bad. Everybody, y'all want, especially men, we want the boy so bad. But then I had my two girls. I'm like, do I really want a boy at this point? Do I need one? Yeah, I don't know. But yes,
I
certainly.
remember we did like a gender reveal
Hmm.
party, and so when we cut into that cake and it was pink, I was like, "What am I gonna do with a girl? I don't know. I don't know. I hardly know anything about girls. What am I gonna do here?" And my wife was like, "Just do all the stuff you do with a boy,"
Hmm.
and that's what I've done. And she was the girliest girl though, and she was like 2, 3 years old. I'd try showing her like anything superheroes or even like Transformers, anything like that.
Hmm.
She wasn't having it. It was all princesses and ponies. But now that she's 8, she's right into it, and she loves parkour and Marvel movies and all that stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I don't want to take you keep you too much longer. I'm sure you've had a long day here with the launch party and everything. Is there anything else that you want to let the viewers or anything know before we go?
No, I want to thank you for having me, Trinity. It's been a blast. If people want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Comic Book George. I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Inside Comics. I talk about kind of making comics every week. So if you guys want to check that out, and then the Kickstarter for Resilient and I Make Boys Cry is on now. And or you can go into your local comic store and ask them to bring it into you. It will be in stores June 30th.
All right. Well, Thank you so much for being here. I do greatly appreciate it. Like I said, I don't do a whole lot of like creator interviews or anything like that. But the folks over there at the Absolute Comics Group have been absolutely awesome and great people to me. And again, came at a time when I was getting out, when Marvel and DC last year, I was really feeling disconnected from a lot of their books. Benny sent me out a whole bunch of the digitals. I read them, did some reviews and everything. I absolutely love what they're doing. I want to thank you for being here and wish you luck on your campaign. And I'll tell you, we'll be pushing that more here. It is only a 10-day campaign, folks. If you are watching, it's only going to be 10 days. So make sure you go check out that campaign. I did leave a link to the Kickstarter pinned in the comments section. It's down in the description. I will also make sure that I get some links to his channel and things like that as well, so you can connect with George if you would like to. But again, thank you so much for being here, George, and thank all of you viewers for being here as well. I hope you all have a very good day, and we'll see you all in the next video. Later.